Hi, good evening everyone. എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. So primarily we don't have any formal arrangement to invite you. So let me take that responsibility and invite my co-panelists. Basically നമ്മുടെ പാനലിസ്റ്റുകൾക്ക് അവർക്ക് മലയാള ഭാഷ പരിചയമില്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് so most of our communication will be in English, and after our primary segments we can have conversations in Malayalam also if we have any questions to shoot. Okay, there is a dance happening on the right side, I think. So first of all, thank you so much everyone for being here in this event. And I remember every individual, every entity made this very event possible. This event is happening at this moment, but a lot of entities, a lot of individuals have worked hand in hand harmoniously to make this event happen on this particular day at this particular time. So I remember them and I'm thanking them. And let me introduce you, maybe on a seniority basis, Professor Dr. Anupam Das. He's originally from Kolkata and he's a professor in Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. And on a personal note, he was my professor when I was doing my post-graduation in Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. And he has got his research on, especially on the linguistics from Indiana University, United States. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And we have the vivacious R.J. Anandi. She's very popular, especially in the southern part of India. She's an RJ. She is hosting a very popular Tamil English book show. The book show is the title of that show. It's very popular. And I understand that she has appeared in a good number of feature films also in Tamil. And today, when I was Googling about you, I understand that you were a contestant in Big Boss also. She was a Big Boss contestant in Tamil. So thank you so much, Anandi. And when I'm inviting you, welcoming you, I remember the mutual friend of us who made this possible actually, who connected us. He's more like an elder brother to me, and I remember him in this very moment. So we will keep this discussion fundamentally into 3 segments, all right? We keep it in 3 segments, very simple, short. In the first segment, since both of the panelists have already have this particular book, Pause, Breathe, Grateful, in their hands, and since they have gone through it, since they flipped through it and indulged into it, probably in the first segment I'll be taking their perspectives and experience on this book. In the second segment, since I am the one who compiled it into the form of a book, probably I'll take questions from them. And on the third segment, since we 3, it's very original, we 3 are in the same page in the perspective and the philosophy is being shared through the book Pause, Breathe, Grateful. So we will be sharing our perspectives. So this would be the format, and towards the end, if the time allows, we'll have a question and answer session from the audience also. So Anandi, let me ask you, when you went through the book, I think you got this book recently, and when you went through it, even after you finished your reading and when you back to your busy life, what is that one thing which left behind after going through this book? You got the question, right? What is left behind? What
See,
was the feeling?
like when I got the book, you told me that this is not a book, like I have not written it as an author. I've written it like an art of expression. That's how we put it. So this book exactly felt that way. It was not like a work which I could consume and then probably get it done with. It's more like reminding myself about things that, that we already know, or sometimes we've forgotten, or sometimes we're not very conscious about it. It's more like when you keep telling yourself your name, sometimes your name sounds a little bit different. Though you're very much familiar with your own name. But then the very act of repeating your name like 50 times, whenever writing your name and looking at it, staring at it, suddenly looks very different. I think this book does that. Basically, we live our lives, we do certain things in our mindful way. Sometimes we skip it, sometimes we fast forward, sometimes we pause, sometimes we take a deep breath, and then sometimes we are mindful about the things that we do. But in this book, what it does is actually be conscious of whatever you're doing. Sometimes you're mindful, sometimes you're not. And everywhere you end the page with, every paragraph or every chapter, it ends with saying, I'm grateful about this. And suddenly, whenever you keep reading the same word again and again, it sticks onto you. That's the psychology. And then suddenly you are
That
reminded.
familiarity
Yeah.
makes it very obvious.
Obvious.
Yeah.
So what happens is, after a point, even if you're not thinking about the book, you are reminded of the things that you're grateful for. Suddenly I was reading this book called A Room of One Spoon by Virginia Woolf. And I think it's the after effect of this book. Suddenly I was looking at the room, my own table, my own chair, and I was like, what a privileged woman I am. I'm able to sit in one place and read, not bothered by people, not filled with chores, nobody is questioning me. And I have a freedom to express myself. I have my own channel where I put forth views which are contradicting, because obviously everybody's views will not be received by everybody, because we are not equals, we are not the same people, we are all different. So to have that in you, to voice out your opinion, to be remembered about that freedom, I think that is what this book did to me. Yeah, so this is more like it's more like a hangover, because the word gratitude, it keeps coming over and over, and suddenly I cannot complain about my life because it has a list of things that I should be grateful for, and I'm reminded about everything now. And how can I just go about and complain about something? I think it just held me, like caught me red-handed whenever I wanted to complain. I think this is the after effect of the book.
Thank you. In short, the obvious.
Yeah, gratefulness. Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. Sir, so in the academic perspective, so this is like a very light thing. It's not even something significant for a person who do the tough nuts in the academic point of view, right? So how do you see this experience in the academic framework?
Right. As many of you may know, the academic life is no longer what it used to be. It's all point-driven, right? Publication-driven, and you have check box to really show that you have performed, right? Not that intellectual pursuit alone is sufficient, right? And it's not that that easy anymore. I don't necessarily see the difference between a corporate life and academic life, right? It's all about, if you have 24 hours on a day, how much of that you can utilize to show your productivity. So much so, even going into your sleep time, right? We human beings need at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep to remain alive, physically at least, right? And to remain alive intellectually and creatively, you need to really pause time to time. You cannot become a machine and then claim to be a teacher. No, that's not possible. So,
Sir, if I may interrupt, let me just share one perspective. That productivity, if we bring productivity on a graph, it's not a straight line.
It is
it's
not.
It's a wave. So
And-
you're more, that's where the pause coming in.
That's where the pause comes.
So it has got like not a sine wave as such, but yeah, it has got a wave nature.
Well, I see that as a seesaw.
Seesaw. Unless you are an artificial intelligent agent, you can continuously throw like a DC voltage line on and put on a graph. But yeah, since you're human beings,
Right. Even AI agent would require that pause. I don't know how many of you have watched this recent incident where a robot committed suicide in South Korea, right? Because it was overworked, right? So when we show our productivity, a busy calendar is not a good calendar, right? The reason is the busy calendar cannot give you that scope to think critically, think creatively, and write a book like this. So thank you for that. So there was no greater pleasure than when one of your students handing over his the intellectual output in a book form, right? Because that's one of those greatest prizes, probably, or medals we expect, right? So when I saw that book, I was like, there is someone even in today's corporate life thinks like in a different direction, saying that we need to be productive and not busy. So that pause, breathe, and be grateful for whatever you are having, right? So the question is, how much is enough? And that's what I think this book also tells me, that how much is enough, we individually would have to determine. We cannot simply go for that, I can achieve. Yes, we have the capacity to achieve a lot more, but by doing that, you are actually burning out, right? And this book also reminds me of that when I hold that. So in academic life, it does matter that we must take frequent pause and to be not only alive and also remain intellectually sound.
thank you, sir. So we are on the half time. All right. So yeah.
Yeah.
So probably we'll maneuver into the second segment.
Yes, we'll do. So I have a question for you. So basically, you, in one of the chapters you've written about, like, everything has a purpose. Like having a clear intention of what you're about to do is very important, is what you've mentioned. So my question is that these are all subtle things. Sometimes you might even miss it. It's more like a touch of a feather. Sometimes you might not even feel it, even if the feather is touching you, right? So there are many chapters which I think must have happened in a lot of people's lives. And probably we would have at that moment enjoyed it or noticed it, and we went past it. What made you write this book, put it as a collection and put it out there? So what was your purpose in writing this book?
All right, I got the question. So fundamentally, not just this book, but the whole experience of my living is, there was a moment I realized that, or I had a perception that our lives made possible is a combination of many hundreds and thousands of rare probabilities. Very rare probabilities and their combinations, which made us take birth. We fought with millions of our siblings, and we won that match, and we became an embryo in our mother's womb. So it's a rare probability. Even when it takes the case of a star, when all these elements work hand in hand in gravity and turn out to be a star like our sun, it's again a rare probability. There are millions of such incidents happening, but many of them don't turn out to be a livable star, and the whole distribution of planets around it. So all these things, we are all made of stardust. So from the formation of the solar system that we all are living into, the birth we had taken from our parents, to we are living in a country at this moment with the freedom to communicate. So all these things are actually very rare combination of probabilities. And so our life is very fragile. So we got an opportunity among all these rare probabilities to spend few years on this planet, right? Maybe for 30 years, 40 years, or 80 years, 100 years. So we got a rare opportunity here. So it's a rare opportunity. It is a gift. So what I try to do with this book is I was just defragmenting the whole gifts of life that we have. So it was not even about an attempt to write a book. It is all about an attempt to compile perceptions, or rather perspectives, on appreciating the gift of life that I carry. So that's it. Yeah, thank you.
Also, I think many of them would also be interested to know, we have, all of us, pretty busy schedule, not just at work, but even at home. So how did you manage your time, to write this book, and to compile that, what was the process that you have taken?
The process is very simple. I have a very basic habit of journaling. I mean, I just, like in our iPhone, we have in the phone we have the notes app, right? So whenever I find something interesting, or when I wanted to preserve a memory or a perspective, like what we discussed in the last night, we had a different discussion on something. I used to jot it down. So that habit is there. Like if it's an event,
so
or
that
an incident.
random thoughts were jotted down, and then later you compile that.
So that's why I said compilation.
Right.
What I have done is a compiling, but that is very much rooted to the fundamental behavior trait or a habit, like journal. Like I just mark things down. Because when you reached at the 31st of December, normally when we look back, we feel like a year gone by, right? Like we don't find anything significant. But if we notice or document some beautiful moments that we had, we'll have many number of things to be counted actually.
Well, I think that brought us to this point that if year is gone by, you don't regret. If you consider that that's an investment, you can always look back, right? It's a year is not gone by. It's you have invested some time, and if you're looking back, that's what you are indicating, right?
Yeah. So that's a byproduct, like a churn out from the same habit. So it's just a habit. It's very lovely, like many experiences. Even today you were saying that you had a wonderful experience when you were coming from the airport to the hotel. You had a wonderful Uber driver. So it's a sweet experience. And if you jot it down in your notes, when you revisit it towards the end of the year, you felt like, oh yeah, I was in Trivandrum for KeralaBF. It's a wonderful day, and you even experienced what you had. You got the princess treatment from the driver, even from the hotel. Yeah. So these teeny tiny things collectively make life wonderful, and we got 5 more minutes. So let's jump into the third segment, like how we are on the same page of pausing, slowing down. So primarily people have a misconception that slowing down means doing things slowly. Is it so, or how do you look at it?
For me, it so happened that, sometimes we try to do it intentionally, and sometimes life puts you in a situation where it happens so. So for me, it happened when, so my dad was sick. He was admitted in a hospital, and he used to have this peculiar taste for ghee roast. So he used to love ghee roast. So ghee roast. But the doctors didn't advise him to have ghee roast. So they will only give him plain roast and a normal chutney, which he didn't like. So every night when I was leaving the hospital, I used to go get the ghee roast from the canteen. I'll come and give him the ghee roast, and I'll have the normal roast. And then that's how our everyday routine was until the last day of his life. But unfortunately, on the day he passed away, I was not with him. I was in Chennai, he was in Coimbatore, and I got a call from my mother, so I got to know. And suddenly the world just stopped. Just like how they show in movies, everything stopped. You know, people were going, people were rushing, but everything looked different, you know, because your mind is so attentive now to your emotions. And it felt different, and I was wondering how the world is looking so different. And then on the way to Coimbatore, we stopped at a hotel, and then I had a ghee roast. And then the ghee roast, I don't know for what reason, it tasted so good. But then I realized it's only because I've slowed down completely, because nothing else mattered to me right now. I'm just there because, you know, we've been battling with his health for so long, and now that we know we've come somewhere, you know, nothing else mattered to us. And that is the moment I realized, okay, so the world is completely different depending on the pace you are in. When you're rushing, it's different. When you are happy, it looks different. When you're sad, it looks different. So you are the world is you. And whenever there are moments where you can slow down and imbibe all those, it gives you a very different picture. And I think that was my first brush with being in the moment. Yeah, being in the moment, slowed down. And for some reason, I actually spoke about this. And there were, you know, articles about me criticizing that, you know, there is this actress talking about having a yummy ghee roast on the day her dad passed away. But I was like, okay, the world doesn't have to know. I know why the ghee roast tasted so good. And that would always stay special for me. And I realized that is all life is. You know, when you're in the moment, when every single thing could be felt, you know, that is the beautiful moment.
Personal. Sir, yeah.
For me, slowing down is not chasing certainty of life. You know, if you always think that I have to do this thing and there has to be this number of outcome, you can never slow down. You know, and most people are addicted to the certainty of life. You know, if you can take that, okay, if you want to really explore life, and that needs to be slowed down. You know, exploring life cannot go with certainty of life, but you know, that addiction to certainty of life makes you really anxious, and that's when you stop breathing, and that process of breathing is not that, right? And that's when you can't be thankful to anything. Anything goes wrong, you continuously blaming someone. Even the things that you have, you forget to appreciate that, right? So when you somewhat learn to stop worrying about certainty. Yes, life, I mean, a good example would be, today I was supposed to go by a train, and it was waiting list. So he asked me, sir, what do I do? I said, let's wait till tomorrow, we'll see that, right? We can't think of tomorrow today, you know, let's enjoy today, and that happened, right? Okay. Well, it did not happen, the ticket didn't get confirmed, but we found an alternative way to travel, which I have not done that, and I'm excited about that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you. You're welcome. All right, so, yeah, slowing down for me is reflecting and being in your cocoon to bounce back. All right, that's what slowing it down, in short. And it has got many ways to share, but yeah, our time is limited, so being back to your cocoon. Yeah. Yeah, we got 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, being back to your cocoon and reflect. So, are we done, or do we have 5 more minutes? Yeah, maybe if you give me 5 more minutes, we'll ask questions from the audience. All right? Yeah. So, anyone?
First of all, congrats, Amar, for taking up this initiative of writing down the book and reading. To be frank, I haven't read. I will buy a copy
should.
today. So your title, Pause, Breathe, Grateful, looks like a prescription, right? The title is a prescription. So, as a reader, when we look at different books, why do you think as a reader, I should buy your book? So I understood the importance of pause, the importance of breathe, and it's a prescription for us to live the life every moment. But what is inside the book? So that's one thing. And also I would like to hear from the two friends of yours. What was the one message which stuck with them by reading only this book,
Understood.
which they could share with us. Thanks.
Understood. A unique experience, right? No, it's okay, son. You can keep it there. Yeah, you can keep it there. So, in short, I don't have, even though I'm into the advertising business, even though I'm into the advertising business, I don't have any tagline for my book to buy. But I would say, if you are someone who genuinely feel that things are not working the way you want it, if you're someone you think that you need a change, if you're someone you think that you are in a loop, you're doing it all these years, and if you continue this, your life gonna end with that loop, and you wanna escape from it. So if you're someone who truly believe that you got tremendous potential and you are not tapping into your potential, if you're someone you believe that you are not performing enough up to the scale you are capable of, so if you're someone of that kind, this book is for you. There is no tagline, but just reflect into yourself, and if you feel that, okay, it's high time for me to change, it's high time for me to escape from the rabbit hole, I wanna, the hamster wheel, then this is for you. So yeah, that's it. And yeah, there is a question remaining about the unique experience. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it entirely unique because most of the things that he's written about is all relevant and something that you can read and be like, yeah, sorry, I forgot about it. It's more like that. But then there was one thing which was like a hammer on the nail, because that is something that I've been wanting to do, and then I think somewhere around the I was giving away to the consumerism and all that. So there was one chapter in which you've written about somebody who has only 86 items, a minimalist. Yeah, so I was like, okay, that was something that I was aiming for, and I have forgotten that part of myself at all. And suddenly when I was reading this, and I had just currently shifted a house, you know what happens when you move to a new house, you're all in the zone of buying and everything, and suddenly this book, I think I read that chapter at the right time. It was an immediate instant takeaway. I was like, okay, stop buying, you wanted not to buy.
Right. So for me, there was one chapter, particularly an anecdote where he talks about a security guard who was once an entrepreneur. Yeah. So there is a security guard who was an entrepreneur or in a financial service. He lost his job and most of his wealth. And then he worked as a security guard, and he used to be very nice to him and talk to him, and often in fluent English, which is not generally not seen in a blue collar job, right? So he became curious and he started asking him questions about that. And then that gentleman gave him a suggestion, for his entrepreneurial journey, and he was very thankful to that. So even you get very valuable suggestions or advice from someone who may not seem like really up to that mark, but it can come unexpected ways, So that remained one very valuable lesson, And there are many, these are anecdotes, very authentic ones. So I would urge you to read that. Maybe you will also find your ways to write your own book. So thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, the time is up, and thank you each and everyone over here for being here, and yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.